We are going to take a look at working with files in your Google Drive. Before we begin looking at Drive, we're going to take a moment to talk about file names. As you begin creating lots of files in your Google Drive, it's important to think about how you name those files. Using a common starting pattern for all files for each class that you're in makes it easier to find lost files through sorting and searching. You also may want to think about collaborators and viewers when you're creating file names. For example, if I was in a social studies class, I would start every file for that class with the letters SS. That way I could sort all the files in my drive by alphabetical order, and all of the files for social studies would be together because all the SS files would be together. Also, I could enter SHS in the search box for my drive, and again, all of my social studies files would show up in the search results because they all began with SS. After that, I would think about the actual file and its purpose. So for example, if it was about an ancient Egypt assignment, I would put that in the file name. Lastly, I'd think about who's going to see this file. If I'm turning it into my teacher, I would possibly put my last name and first name right in the file name to make it easier for my teacher to actually find my assignment. So now I'm going to switch over to my Google Drive, and the first thing we're going to look at is creating new documents. So to create a new file, I need to click on my New button, and then I need to choose what type of file I want, a document, a sheet, or slides, or I can slide down to More for Google Forms or drawings. So right now I'm going to open up a Google Doc. By default, the title of the document is Untitled Document, and it automatically saves. So I can begin typing, and my work will automatically be saved. Even if I exit out of it, you can see that I have an untitled document named Untitled Document right here. If I open it back up, I have the opportunity to rename it. So I'm always going to want to name my files first. So just by clicking on Untitled Document, I can name it. Social studies, I would type in SS. Then the name of the assignment. Maybe this one is a Civil War paper. And then I might put my last name and my first name. Now, after I've done working on that document, I might want to organize it. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a folder for that class. So I'm going to click on New, and the first option is New Folder. So I'm going to create a folder for Social Studies. Now by default my folder is empty, but if I select on the file that I want to move in there, I have the option, if I go into More Actions up here, to select Move To, and then I can pick my folder, Social Studies, and I can move it in there. So you can see it is now moved. It's not in my drive. I even have a message up here saying that it has been moved to the Social Studies folder. I have the option to undo it if I need to. Or if I double click on the Social Studies folder, if I double click on the Social Studies folder, I can now see that my paper is in there. I have other options for moving files. If I click on the file and right click, you can see I get to the same menu, Move To, and again I can select my Social Studies folder and move a folder in there. I also can select more than one file at a time by holding down my Shift key, and again I can go to the More Actions icon and select Move To, or I can right click and select Move To and pick the folder where I want it to go. So these are all options for moving around files into folders to organize them. It's also important to know where to access files that are shared with you. So if I click on this Incoming, this is a file that has been shared with me. I don't have any options for creating folders in the Incoming area. but I do have the option to add it to my drive. So this is a file that I've been invited to as a collaborator, and if I want to put it into a folder to be able to easily find it later, I need to click on this Add to My Drive button, and you can see it automatically gives me options for my folders. So if this was a file for social studies, I would pick my social studies folder and click Move. And it'll still be visible here in my incoming, but now if I come to my drive and click on that social studies folder, you can see that it's not there right now. I'm going to refresh my screen. I didn't pick social studies apparently. There, it just went to my drive. So I must not have clicked on social studies. But again, I can click Move To and actually move it to my social studies folder. So now we also might want to know how to upload files. So if I click on New, you can see I have the option to upload files. So if I select Upload File, when I'm on a Chromebook, essentially the only files I can upload are files that I downloaded. So for example, I found the middle school handbook on our Hudson Middle School homepage, and I saved it or downloaded it. So now it's here in my downloads, and I can actually move it to my Google Drive. In my downloads folder here, it's only available to me on my Chromebook, so I might want to upload it by selecting it and clicking Open, because now it will be available to me in my Google Drive from any other device that I log into my Google account. So if I log in on my smartphone or on a tablet, or if I log in on another computer or laptop, I will have access to this file. If I would have just left it in the downloads on my Chromebook, I would only have access to it on my Chromebook. So again, that was New and File Upload, and select the file that you want from your downloads and click Open, and it uploads it. From there, I have the same options to be able to organize them. So let's say that both of these files were for social studies. Again, I can hold down the Shift key to select both of them. I can right click and go to Move To, and I can put them in that social studies folder. So you also might want to know how to delete files. So for example, this file right here I actually created just to show you how to delete. I'm going to click on it, and then I have the option to click Remove on the trash can icon up here. So you can see it removed one file. Now it's important to know that any files that are created by you, you're the owner of, it will say Me in the owner column here, and when you delete those, you're actually moving them to the trash or deleting them. However, if it's a file that someone shared with you, so this one is owned by another person and I'm a collaborator on it, if I click the Remove, it's going to give me a message that you removed one file, but the removed file is still accessible by the collaborators. So what that means is when you're removing a file that's shared with you, you're removing your access to that file, but the owner and the other collaborators are still able to get to that file. So the last thing I'd like to show you today is your ability to search. Because sometimes, even though you organized your files in folders, you go to that folder where you think you had it and you just can't find it. So if I come back here, first we're going to go back to trash and see if we can find our social studies, and we're going to restore it. So that's good to know if you accidentally deleted something, like this social studies paper. If I'm in my trash and I right click on it, I can go to Restore, and that will put it back in my drive. So let's say that I could not find my social studies paper. If I type in SS in the search area, you can see it only brings up files that have SS somewhere in the name. So it allowed me to easily find all of my social studies files. So that's working with files in your Google Drive.